From Been There, Got Out. And we are live tonight with a Michigan divorce attorney. I'll call her J Attorney. And she's known as Tips from a Divorce Attorney on TikTok. That's how we met her. And I have to say that I am so grateful to, there she is, to a lot of our followers and refer us to people, experts like J Attorney, because they know that that people like you are can help like the greater community. And especially when I saw one of your videos, which we'll talk about in a little while, okay. I thought that is controversial and very, very interesting. So I'm so glad that you agreed to come on. And so Jay, you want to just tell people a little bit about your background?
Oh, sure. I am a Michigan attorney. I initially started working for the government, looking for assets of criminals, and that's how I started my career. But now I do family law, and part of what I do in any divorce is to try to find assets and to try to find income that helps my clients to get more assets or get more support. And so that's what I do. And I'm on TikTok as J Attorney, and on this platform, I'm Tips from a Divorce Attorney, I think. That's my little logo. So I'm happy to give you some tips or hacks, whatever you want to call it, about where to look for money when you're going through a divorce.
Yeah, so I know in the domestic violence community, 99% of toxic relationships involve financial abuse. It's the most common form of invisible abuse. It's a kind of coercive control that most people are unaware of. I know in my 20-year relationship, had no idea what was going on exactly, and wouldn't have classified it as abuse because it was hidden. I didn't realize what was going on behind my back. So with just, because you don't just deal with high conflict divorce, but in regular divorces, how common is financial abuse?
Well, certainly when you have abuse of any kind, verbal, like I got a spouse who is going to be abusive physically, verbally, you know, they're sick mostly, and so they're going to also not want to share their finances with you if you're going through a divorce. So it's very common. And even someone who's not abusive may be just like, I don't want to share my money. I made the money. I don't want to share it. So it's important to make sure you look everywhere. And even pretty kind of good people, it bugs them to give up half of their assets. So you have to really dig deep sometimes, make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to. At least in Michigan, that's how we do it.
Right. So even if someone is coming from an angle where they're not concerned about a partner lying or hiding assets, they should still make sure, no matter what. Because divorce is kind of a dramatic time anyway.
Yeah, it brings out the worst in everyone, of course. And so you want to make sure that you're protected, that you have all the information that you need to make a good decision about settlement or trial, but it's mostly settlement.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that before we get into some of these top 10 to 15 or more hacks on how to find hidden assets, we had a question about, I remember when you and I first spoke, you said something about it taking a year to find fraud. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Okay, so in the state of Michigan, it's a special rule here, and I don't know other states. You only have 1 year to find fraud. So if your spouse did not disclose an asset during the process, the divorce process, if you don't discover within the 1 year, you're kind of out of luck, and it's a very hard and a hard rule. So I try to make sure you get it right the first time when you're going through it, when you have a lawyer or you're really digging into it, that you capture every asset.
Okay, so that's making me think of my own situation. I thought that once it was done, like everything was signed, that was the end of it. And I don't know if it was just in general, but I thought that I would have to reopen the entire divorce case to deal with some of the hidden assets. That we either have to do a post-judgment motion, right, but I couldn't go back and reclaim assets that I just discovered after the divorce was over. So it was almost like a catch-22. During the divorce, you don't know about it, so you make an agreement, but then after the divorce and you find out about it, you can't do anything about it.
Oh,
Unless
no,
you
in
reopen.
Michigan, no, here we can. In my
Oh,
state, we
really?
can. Yeah, if you discover an asset that wasn't disclosed, you can go back to court and you don't open the whole thing up. You say, here's a bank account that I didn't know about. It has $50,000 in it. I want whatever portion. I mean, around here, it's usually 50-50. But if you can show intentionally that the spouse was intentionally not showing it to you and it wasn't a mistake, like some people have like a bank account with a couple $100, they've had it since they're a kid, you might forget about it. But a big account that they purposely hiding, you can try to ask for more than 50% of it when you reopen the case.
Wow. So even after it's done, you can say, oh, I just found something 3 months later.
Right. It's got to be within 12 months, a year of the entry of the judgment, though, of the divorce judgment.
Wow. That's really interesting. Okay. So let's talk about some of the hacks that you have, because I know this is like a big part of your platform, especially on TikTok. And we love like little tips and tricks.
Okay. So I just try to give some real general places where you should make sure you look before you finalize your divorce to make sure you're looking for hidden assets or income. So first place that, and this is all based on cases that I've had, you should look in your children's accounts. Like sometimes if you have a college account, they have certain tax benefit. They're called 529, Section 529s, and we have special statute here in Michigan. Anyway, look in your kids' accounts, because what your spouse could do is to, the whole idea is to, what are the marital assets, and you want to capture those. But if, oh, there's $10,000 that's put into your child's college account, you know, you look like a schmuck if you say, oh, it shouldn't go in there. But really, you're not a schmuck because it's 10,000, you would have got 5, and your spouse would have got 5. So that's one place I look, is in the children's accounts, to make sure that the balances look normal and there's not a big deposit made by by the spouse.
What if it's like before papers are filed versus after papers are filed? Is it more like you really need to start checking after papers are filed? Is that when a lot of the nonsense happens, or do you find that people start planning long ahead of time?
Right. I was going to say, once someone just, if they're going to do this stuff and they're smart about it, they probably do it before they file. So you would have to look back at least a year or two. I mean, usually when you're in the relationship, you can get a sense of when your spouse might have started to think about divorce, or if you're doing it, then you know exactly when you were thinking of it. So yeah, I usually subpoena the documents and do a little look back a couple of years.
Okay. So if someone puts something in a 529 that's for college, how can they just take the money? Like, would they just be able to take the money out of their kids' college? Because I don't really know much about the college exam. You know, we didn't do those.
Okay, so the Section 529, the Section 529 is a special account you can do for your children, and it gives you tax benefits. And if you don't use it for the education or the tuition or the costs of the education, there's certain rules. I'm not an accountant. I don't want to pretend I am. You know, if you do that, it maintains the benefit of the tax benefit. But if you want to take it out before and not use it the way to get the benefit of the tax deferral, you know, you just have to pay tax on it. I mean, it's not great, but you can do it. You just get penalized the tax that you saved. You have to pay ordinary taxes on it.
Yeah, actually, you're making me think that a number of our clients have said that their exes took the kids' college money.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kids can also have IRAs, Roth IRAs. People open those for their children too. So it's the same idea, just looking for the money that shouldn't be. Okay.
All right. Next.
Number 2. Okay. Another thing people do is if during the year of their divorce, they overpay their taxes. So that way, when they file in April, so let's say you're getting divorced this year, 22, if you're not married on December 31st, which if you get divorced now, you wouldn't be, you are going to file separately. You cannot file jointly. So you file in April of 2023, of course. And if you've overpaid your taxes, especially if you own your own business and you're able to overpay your taxes if you're not a W-2 employee, you get a refund the next year. So that would be,
Wow.
that's a tricky thing that you can do if you're the business owner, or if the business owner, I don't know how to, if the business owner can do that. So so you look at what the estimated payments for 2022 are, and make sure that you either say that they've paid the normal amount and that they're not, that they're not going to get a huge refund in 23.
How is there a way to tell if someone is over, if you filed separately, is there a way to know, or you have to wait to see what the tax returns look like?
Well, estimated taxes are paid quarterly usually. And so you can see, if you look at the business records, the business usually pays the estimated taxes, or sometimes individuals do, and you see what the payments are. And so it should be a certain % of their income. And if you see like larger payments than what should be the estimates, that's how you would know to look. You can also, I have put into judgment sometimes that the parties affirm that, like that they have not overpaid their taxes, that they, something like that.
What happens if you affirm something like that? Because I feel like so much with perjury is nothing in family court. What happens if someone affirms that and it's discovered that they did do it?
Well, then I would file a motion to get half of the refund that the spouse got, because that money is marital money and it should have stayed in whatever bank account you had. It should have gone to the government.
Okay. All right. But I'm thinking like punishment.
Financial punishment is the main thing. I mean, even criminals that do real crimes, when they cry like a baby over the money, not about going to jail. It's all about money.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We know that.
Okay. Hack number 3. Some people will overpay their credit cards. So then after the divorce, they have a credit with American Express or I don't know, Macy's, Target, whatever. And then they will enjoy that after the marriage. So if you overpay $10,000, so let's say you do your disclosures, that's what we do it here, you at a certain point, and it's a normal, and you pay it off every month, or you pay a certain amount every month, minimum payment. But then you start taking marital funds and overpaying, then they're going to have a credit after the divorce. So that's another way that you got to make sure to look at the credit cards at the time that you enter into the judgment. Make sure nothing's been overpaid.
Wow. It's interesting because you're usually thinking about debt, like who's going to be responsible for the debt, instead of thinking I got to watch that there's not credits for somebody.
I mean, I've seen this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, of course, the other side is someone goes crazy and has a huge addition to their credit card, but then that would be a status quo violation, at least here, that we have like an order. You can't, so you'd see that before.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Another way to hide money, people might prepay their lease, their car lease, or their rent. So, and the same concept, you're taking marital funds. If your car payment is $450 a month, and then, you pay 10 months worth, that's, $4,500 that you've taken out of marital and paying it now instead of after the divorce. So that's
interesting. So yeah. So it's again, it's like, I'm so used to getting in the mindset of looking for debt, but it's actually the opposite. Look for overpayments.
Right. And the place you're going to look to get the information is the bank account, or sometimes you can charge your lease payments to, or your rent, or whatever payments, taxes, something. But so you look at the bank accounts and you look at where the money's going out, the outs, and that you have to maybe subpoena bank accounts. Unless it's a joint account, then you can just pull it yourself.
Okay.
Keep
going. Interesting.
No, the controversial one that got us talking was
I'm like waiting for this one.
Number 5. Yeah. How about buying a lot of gift cards? And it's like overpaying your credit card. It's the same idea, because you're buying gift cards, and I said in my TikTok, it's like for round numbers at Starbucks or Target or whatever. And by getting the gift card after the divorce, it's like having cash, obviously. So,
Right.
and then that you said was controversial, which a lot of people commented on my TikTok about, saying that that isn't an uncommon thing to do if you're anticipating leaving and you don't have access to money, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things, like, especially because I'm a state certified domestic violence advocate, that's advised to people who are trying to save money or put money aside without their spouse seeing what's happening so that they can exit the relationship. They're told you should get some gift cards and put that aside. But you're saying this can also bite them if their spouse is checking and saying, why are you spending all this money on gift cards?
If they figure it out, right. Because
Right.
you're using a credit card probably to buy the gift card. So if you disclose that, yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah,
Goes
so
both
tricky.
ways.
Yeah, tricky, but interesting.
That's what, yeah, that got us going. Okay.
Yep.
In that same vein, kind of, you can buy a lot of merchandise from stores and then return it and either get a store credit or cash back.
Oh, wow.
Because then your spouse is going to go, oh, why did you spend $250 at Target or Costco or whatever? And then you bring it back and you get credit or, you know, whatever form they give you.
Yeah, this is making me think of that series Good Girls. I don't know if
Oh,
you've
I
seen
didn't see
it.
that. No, I didn't.
Yeah, but they would buy a lot of stuff and then return it.
So if you wait till after the divorce, then you're going to get that value. So it's dissipating. You paid the credit card that purchased the item and then you got the benefit.
You know what? I bet we're going to get a lot of flack for doing this because someone's going to say, you're teaching abusers how to take advantage, but it needs to be out there.
Ways, though.
Right?
I mean, I know that I always feel that way whenever I give a tip. It's like it tells people what to do, but it also tells people where to look to, because the people that want to be dishonest and deceitful, they know they'll figure it out. But yeah, it is a little bit of a roadmap on how to hide money too.
Yeah, but I mean, education. My background is in education. Got to educate people.
Another place to look is cash apps like Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay. You can run balances in there. So, yeah. You don't.
How can you do that? I'm thinking PayPal you used to buy something.
No, what if you can sell something and then the money sits into your account, or Venmo, someone Venmos you money. If you don't transfer it into your savings account, it stays with Venmo or it stays in PayPal. You can subpoena those records, and that's how you can find a lot of stuff out. And you can also, you're going to find out every email that's associated with those apps. And so that's a lot of good information too, if your spouse might be using an app, email you don't know about.
See, that's really interesting too, because I'm thinking about the financial affidavits that are required by the court, and there's no section, or at least the last that I remember when I was in court, there's nothing about Venmo and PayPal. It's more, money market funds, retirement funds, bank accounts, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I just pushed something and now there's all this writing on my screen. I don't know.
Oh, that's the questions. I think that's my partner, Chris. He's saying, it seems like your divorce would have to go very quickly for you to be able to buy something before and still be able to return it after. That doesn't happen with our people. Ours been there for years.
Oh, really? Okay, well, okay.
Yeah.
Not every tip is for everybody.
Yeah, no, but this is great. These are great tips. These are really helpful.
All right, and kind of like cash apps would be cryptocurrency. Again, on our disclosures that we do now in Michigan, they do ask specifically for electronic or digital currency, but that's another place to hide money, and it's gone. If they don't want to disclose it, no one can ever find out what's there. So that kind of goes with the cash apps. So that's number 8. Number 9, this one is just pretty straightforward, just cash, straight up cash. So what some people do, and if I had a someone who did not have access to funds and they needed to accumulate a retainer or have a cushion if they're going to be leaving the home quickly and they want to make sure they can afford to leave and buy food, and if they're going to get cut off, is just cash. So you just take a little bit every month, or every week, whatever it is, not in a huge amount, so it's not obvious. And so you can cash. I guess that's just, it's pretty straightforward, but you can have cash, or you can just, you keep it wherever or give it to a friend or a family member to hold for you until after the divorce.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine had a house and she cut a hole in the wall. Like stuffing it up in the wall.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one place to put it. It just feels like there could be other places to hide it. But I guess if you're with someone who if you're very threatened and you feel like someone may be looking so closely in your jewelry drawer, your underwear drawer, I don't know where people put cash, but now you know where I put cash. But then yeah, I guess you put it in a hole in the wall.
It worked. It worked.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, so as a lawyer, I do ask my clients, and that is a question, how much cash do you have on hand? And obviously, what you have, you have. Now, if you have it and then you have to spend it to get your divorce going, you don't have it anymore when I ask you that question. That's a good way to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. I'm on number 10. All right. This is a weird one, but it's a complicated one. Sometimes people can open another business entity, like a limited liability corporation or a partnership or a joint venture of some kind. It looks legit on the outside. And then they buy assets in the name of this business entity and with marital money, but they pretend it's the business and the business owns it. So like, technically, if there's a car, let's say that your business owns, you'd say, oh, the business owns it, I don't own it. And so that's something that people do. They open a bunch of business entities and start buying assets in the business entities. So
that seems, yeah, that is weird. I mean, wouldn't that show up just that someone's opening a bunch of business entities?
Yeah, but if you ask the right questions and you look, and that kind of, I would say that dovetails with a broader issue is if your spouse owns a business, there's a bazillion ways they can hide assets. All right, a bazillion was a lot. There's a lot of ways to hide assets when you have a business. Like I have a small law firm and I own it with my partner, right? And what could I do if I were getting a divorce? One of the assets of a divorce is your business. Although law firms aren't worth a ton, but let's say I had a manufacturing business, right? Mm-hmm. And so how can I make the value less? Okay, this is another tip, but it kind of dovetails with.
This is very important because this is a huge issue with our people.
Right.
Yeah. So
because the business owner, especially in what we call closely held companies, which is a very small company owned by family members, let's say, they can do fake loans to people. They can make fake employees that they pay. So, or they can buy, like buying assets that are really marital, but buy them in the name, same thing in the name of the entity. Because when someone's trying to determine the value of someone's business, you need to get a forensic accountant who's going to give you an estimate. And the way they do it is they say, here's your revenue minus your costs, and then here's a number, this is your profit, and then there's a multiplier applied. Okay, I don't need to go into that, it's so boring, but the piece is you have revenue. If your company makes $1 million and then you can show expenses of $800,000, your profit's only $200,000. So the more expenses you can run through your company, and you can make fake ones, and that will reduce the value of reduce your profit, which will then reduce the value of your company that you have to share with your spouse. So that's a very, very dicey one. It can be very expensive to hire the forensic accountant to do the work, to look at the general ledger of the business, make sure. I mean, this is kind of also with overpaying taxes. You want to look at the general ledger. You want to make sure that it's straightforward, that it's reasonable, that, you know, I mean, I've had cases, oh my God, what they run so much stuff through, but I had to get a forensic accountant. They went through line by line, and I had one case, it was $200,000 a year that this guy, that was a man, who was spending it on eating out, fine dining with other women, not the wife. And we were able to quantify it through his business expenses and then add that back into the value. So it was like if it was 200 and he already spent it, right? It's gone, but it would it'd be called an add back. So if the profit was 200, we'd add another 200. So we'd say that the yearly profit's 400. And that's kind of how that goes. It's a difficult one, but you have a lot of people that have this problem with the self-employed person.
Oh, huge. I mean, this is what we get on so many of our calls with people where they say, oh, my ex has a business and they're undervaluing everything. And what can I do?
Yeah.
Or they're saying they're running everything through the business.
Right. Okay. So that's a different issue too. I'll get to that. But I just want to say also, if it's a kind of a business like maybe a restaurant or a bar where cash is used, although it's much less common. I mean, that's just, I know older people use cash still, but everyone else, they're using their debit card. But if there's cash business, obviously that's not going to be income. Think of it this way. If you can cheat the IRS using techniques to reduce your income, it's the same techniques work in a divorce. So that's why if someone runs a business that has a lot of cash, that's another place where you got to look. So, and then what if they run through their business all kinds of personal expenses? Again, reduces the profit because you have so much money being spent on phone, car, insurance, mortgage. Some people put their mortgage through, things like that. So all these different things can reduce the value of the company, and therefore the spouse gets less.
So as an attorney, how do you do that? Like, how do you corner them to admit it in cross-examination, like going through and then showing, I got it, I know it, or how do you do it?
You need your expert, which is the forensic accountant, and then he puts together a report. And it's like, we call it maybe battle of the experts, because their expert's going to say, oh no, this is a legitimate expense when I went to, this particular place. And your expert would say, no, you bought dinner for only one other person. It wasn't a business expense. And this person, I don't know. Sometimes, also plane tickets, you can see if they're buying plane tickets for their girlfriend or boyfriend, it's could be on their credit card. So
wow. Well, there's something you said, I don't know if it's going to be in one of your tips, but it's something that I haven't thought about a while. But with paying ahead something on the taxes, my ex paid his mortgage ahead for months, and my lawyer caught it and kept saying, this is huge, you're not allowed to do that. That's like dozens of thousands of dollars.
Right. Well, I said the lease, but yeah, and the mortgage. You can overpay.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to look for it, because why would, you have to look for it. And but that you can see through your bank statements. Or maybe, and also your mortgage statement, you would see if it's been overpaid.
Right. I'm thinking also because he owned multiple properties, he was paying the mortgage ahead on many of them.
Okay. Well, and if you want, I'll go to my next tip, which kind of, when there's a lot of bank accounts and just moving money around, so you have an entity that owns a piece of property, then you have to move, 5,000 from this account because this one isn't paying the rent. And there's a lot of movement. Again, it may require a forensic accountant to try to do a little picture for you to see where the money's going in and out. And it's basically just because it's confusing, and it requires time, energy, unfortunately, resources to be able, unless you do it yourself, which some people you have to be a special person to read through these bank statements.
Yeah.
But, if you have the time, there's no reason, you don't have to have a forensic accountant to look at bank statements. You can make your own categories and do it yourself.
Yeah, and you're making me think of two other things, but I don't want to step on your toes in case it's
Go
one of
ahead.
your tips. Is
No,
one
go
about,
ahead.
so again, I'm thinking of my own case. The person's parent died during the divorce process, and then they had an estate account, and money was being funneled into an estate account. And long after the person had died, the person that I was dealing with was still using this estate account to as like a personal account, even though it was supposed to only be used to pay the expenses for the person that died. And that was something that we caught, and that the judge was like, no, you're not allowed to do that.
Oh, no, that wasn't what I said. So they delayed distribution of the estate so they could keep using that account?
It was one of those things that like happened during the divorce. The divorce took a year. And then when we went back for post-judgment, I was able to find all this stuff. And it was like, the divorce happened, the death happened during the divorce, and now it's 2 years later and you're still using this estate account. That, like, what is all this stuff?
Oh.
So put that in your tip.
That's it. I wrote it down.
All right, and I have another one from that same scenario, which has been an issue with our clients and my own situation. When a parent has the same exact name as your ex. Is this in one of your tips?
No.
Okay, you got to make it one of your tips.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a mess. Because they're colluding often, toxic person, toxic family, and they're sharing assets. And so they're transferring everything. So the property's in the parent's name, but you know that the ex has it. And it's just like, you can't really do anything, right? Because who knows which one it is? They have the same name.
And then even if you depose the parent or, they're going to lie. So it's like, if they're in it, if they're doing it, they're going to lie.
Right.
Because they want to get it to the end for their child. Yeah, no, it's definitely, that's interesting. I have a case right now and the kids are in private school but there's not a lot of money. You're like, how can you afford, if it's, okay, it's Michigan, not New York, but still $30,000 a year for private school when we don't make that much money. And not my client, the father is saying, oh no, it's from my mother and it's from her account. So I subpoenaed the records from all of the schools and I'm going to cross-check how the tuitions were paid and the expenses for the kids were paid. Now, the way I'm hoping to use it, if it turns out to be from the mom for real, because I don't know why the mom has all this money and the father doesn't, it would be a regular gift. And I would try to say, well, even though it's in someone else's name, he has access to it. So really, judge, you got to include it as his income. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's people, sometimes when you're the spouse of the person who's from a rich family or living off of a child, you don't realize they're living off of someone else's money and you live a particular lifestyle. And when you go to get the divorce, really nothing's in your name and you don't have a lot of money. It's a hard thing to understand. That's what
this is a huge contingent of our people where the ex is from a rich family, male and female.
Yes.
The family is footing the legal bills, hiding everything, protecting them. It's just this tremendous mess. And they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do.
I know. It's kind of, it's shitty. Yeah. And especially when they don't have the prenup, I'll just say a little plug for if you are from a family that has a lot of money or you anticipate getting money from your family, a prenup is the way to go to make it clear, like there's this family trust, I will be getting $10,000 a month from the family trust. It would never be considered anything. It's not you have to do it in a prenup though. That would be the best.
Yeah. Oh, we just got a question. What about fraudulent promissory notes? Before you answer that, I'm thinking, again, my own case years ago, my ex claimed in front of a judge that he had borrowed $10,000 and produced a napkin with a scribble on it and a signature. So the judge said, sir, how did you get this money? Was it cash or a check? And he said, I don't know. So I loved watching this. And the judge looked at him and said, have you ever held $10,000 cash in your hands? And he goes, oh, it must have been a check. But I thought, wonderful. Like, you just did a great job for me.
Yeah. No, you just reminded me, I had a case where the guy, and his friend wrote him a promissory note for like 200,000. It was a huge amount of money. And he claimed that he took that 200 and put it into renovating the house. So therefore it was like another mortgage on the house. So it reduced the value of the house. But same thing. I had to, you know what I did in that case? I had to go to the friend's metadata, do you know, on the computer to show that he drafted the promissory note. The metadata tells you when a document is actually done, not the date on it. And I was able to show the court that it was drafted right when the divorce was started and not when it was supposedly given. So, yeah.
Wow.
I know. I forgot about that. You just reminded me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And the promissory note thing, I'm thinking now of another possible tip, again, from my own case. I didn't realize I had all these gems, but one thing that my ex did was submitted all kinds of receipts for the checks paid, no receipts, checks paid to like a plumber who was like a high school friend, and like all these huge, like $11,000 for some kind of plumbing. And it was like, well, where is the receipt? Oh, there's no receipt. And I was like, well, what's the $11,000 for?
Yeah.
So that was something.
Yes, it's the same. If you own your own business, you can do fake invoices and pretend to pay them out, and it's a loan or it's a payment, it reduces it, it goes to your friend, It's
now with promissory notes, but back to that briefly, I know, certainly I had to take out some loans to pay for my legal fees during the divorce, and my lawyer said to be very careful and to make sure that I paid every single month to show that it wasn't fraudulent. He's like, just in case you go back, you want to have every single month paid. Right. And I did, and we never had an issue with that, luckily.
Right, and that's that's sometimes the argument is that it's a gift, not a loan, if it's from family, and you don't really have to pay it back, but you put it on your spreadsheet, on your marital asset and liability spreadsheet, because you'd say, yeah, I owe my parents $20,000, $10,000, whatever, and they go, no, it was a gift, and so you have your documentation and you show your payments.
Yeah.
It's that's a common problem when family helps out, or when they give you a down payment and you try to get it out, and you say it was a loan, but you have to say it was a gift, and the mortgage,
Yeah.
It's a lot of yuck.
Yeah. Okay, I forgot what number we're up to, because I jumped ahead and started adding more tips to your list.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. How about another tip is, if your spouse, you can get an equity loan from your house. If your mortgage is low enough, and you can get a second mortgage on your house. So by doing that, your spouse could take a $50,000 equity line, pull it out, do whatever, and now your house is worth less, which is another asset that you would have divided equally, but now you have you're down $50,000. So that's another thing.
Oh, wow.
Now the clever person does that before they file, because once you file, you can't do that without permission of the other party. I mean, you need permission of all the owners of the house anyway. But once the divorce is started, that if your spouse is telling you that you got to do it for some reason, make sure it's a real reason. That's what I would say about.
Ooh, very smart. Oh my gosh. Wow. This is excellent. Thank you so much, Jay, for like sharing all this stuff.
Yeah. One other tip, which is not really a great tip, but if you noticed all of a sudden that the mail of your spouse isn't coming to your house, it's going to a P.O. box. Why are you laughing? Did that happen to you?
Well, no, it was sent to his sister's house, who owned the property, like the whole marriage. And I always was like, why is your mail still going to your sister's house? Because it was being hidden, always. So that's why I'm smiling.
Right, because
this is really rich for me. This is bringing back all kinds of memories. No, it's fine. It's fun. It's fun now.
But and just remember that in January, February is when all the banks issue their like
Summary.
1098s and 1099s, 1098s, K1s. So if it's coming to your house, you could take pictures. Obviously, you can't open someone else's mail. Just saying that. I'm a lawyer. So you might take a picture of it or whatever. And so that usually comes in January. You start looking. But so if the mail got redirected to a P.O. box or your sister or something, a family member, then you're not going to see those assets. So they have to do that to conceal the asset from you.
So this is good. This is good timing because it's November and everybody who hasn't left their relationship, and we know that January is a huge divorce month because after the holidays, everyone's like, I'm not doing that again. I just did it for the kids last time, but look for those financial pieces of mail just to show that they arrived.
Exactly.
If possible, or that they didn't.
Oh, that's true too. If you think you had a Fidelity account and you didn't get the 1098. So yeah, true. Oh, I could just do a few other little quick tips, which is, make sure that no one's transferring property to family members. That's like, that one's pretty obvious. I think you would know that. Also, make sure that no one's moving money to a country that has secrecy laws like Switzerland, Dubai, Cayman Islands. Again, you got to look at your bank statement and make sure that you're not seeing chunks of money wired out, or no one's taking trips to those countries. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's everything.
Yeah. I mean, how common is those last couple with people suddenly transferring money to interesting exotic countries?
They have to have the secrecy laws. That's why, because you can't, it's almost like cryptocurrency in a way. You can't, there's no one you can ask, oh, does Jane Smith have a cryptocurrency account with you, Bitcoin? You can't. And it's just because it's not regulated, it's nothing. And it's the same with these countries, Switzerland, I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but they have secrecy laws. And so they will not respond to anyone about, so you couldn't know if your spouse moved money out.
All right. I'm thinking, so a big theme here too is that you can't do anything about certain things with the assets. And it's, these crazy divorces are never fair sometimes. Like it's never like you get half and the other person gets half. How do you deal with clients? Like, what would you tell people in situations where they know there's money that's hidden, but they can't get it? Mm-hmm. How do they go on with their lives with that kind of injustice? Yeah.
Okay. So 2 things. Before the divorce, when you are in the relationship, you should not have your head in the sand. Okay. You should just have an idea what your finances are. What the most problems are when someone is faced with a divorce and they do not know where their assets are. Just really, I mean, obviously, you have a house and you have cars and you know where your spouse works, but really it's not just an end of the line thing. You should try to know going in and just in like, hey, hun, let's sit down and look at our budget and what are our assets. So you have a clue over the years. That's one. But what you didn't really answer what you asked me, which is like, how can you live with it? And what I say is that a cheater and a liar is a cheater and a liar. And you should be happy you're getting away from a person like that. It's bad energy, it's bad karma, and that while maybe there's $50,000 somewhere hidden, you have to just move on because you're going to be in a much better place without that negative person with you who's hiding. So yeah, it is impossible to say, oh, for sure I have every dollar, but definitely take your spouse's deposition. That's not that expensive and it's under oath and at least might scare them a little bit to tell the truth. I don't know, but.
We were just talking about that today, depositions with a client. We were saying like, has your lawyer done a deposition yet? And she said no. And we were like, maybe that can start pushing towards avoiding court. because they have mediation.
Totally agree that doing a deposition, you're paying for your lawyer's time, you're paying for the transcript if you get one, but it also, you can ask every question. Is there a third party holding money for you? Do you have money overseas? Do you have a winning lottery ticket? All these questions can be asked under oath, and at least you can know, like, I did everything I could do to find the money, even if you don't find every dollar. So
yeah, which you won't.
No.
Not with our people. Okay, and then I see a little quick question about Switzerland, Cayman Islands, and where else? Like those secrecy countries,
Well, I think I said Dubai. I think they also, is that United Emirates? I think they have secrecy laws. I don't know. I could Google it.
Yeah.
But definitely, if you see chunks of money leaving your bank account, and like you got to find out where they're going, and that's something you can ask on a deposition, like, where did this 10,000 go? So.
Yeah, I remember we had interviewed a certified fraud investigator like a year ago. And I think I might have told you this when you and I first talked, but he said one thing to watch for in your bank accounts is when someone money is being paid in round numbers.
Yes.
Because that's a sign that it's being hidden or transferred. Because the only people who take money in round numbers are generally attorneys, right? Because you're a retainer. So when you see round numbers going out, if there's no tax, like something is off. So really to pay attention to round numbers.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So Jay, thank you this is such valuable, and that word fits in with the money theme, like really, really valuable content and very helpful.
Oh,
so thank you. And how can people find you if they want to know more?
Okay, so like I said, I'm on Instagram as Tips a Divorce Attorney, I think.
Tips from a divorce. You got to know your name.
I know. Well, I really am on TikTok mostly, and then I thought, maybe I should do Tips
from a divorce attorney. No,
I don't think
I think it is. We'll look it up. I'll put it. You're in my little description.
I'm so lame. Really, I prefer TikTok, where I'm J Attorney. That I know for sure.
And it's J-A-Y Attorney.
J-A-Y, the initial. That's my first initial, correct. And again, I'm a Michigan attorney, so I really am only speaking in very general terms about how to find money. If you do live in the state of Michigan and you need an attorney, contact me and I'm in the Detroit area, so I can either help you or help you find someone to help you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay, and we will be in touch.
All right.
Actually, you are Tips Divorce Attorney. I was wrong. Tips Divorce Attorney. Yeah. So I'm lame. You're not lame.
No, it's dumb.
But your series is Tips from a Divorce Attorney. Correct. When you do your TikTok there. So that's why I'm confused.
No, that's my tagline. Yeah. So
yeah. All right. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Nice talking to you.
You too. Bye.